Stop the cap.
This is in response to Ace Butterfly, which some of you have seen on my community tab, and I figured I'd make a video about it because I want other people to witness this as opposed to just putting it on the community tab because I know I get more views if I make a video. But to her, like, I'm not going to continue going back and forth with you about this. We already told you what the deal was, and you keep coming back almost like trying to scold us like you're some sort of school teacher mommying us about the facts, which is very condescending, which is something that I've already picked up on and spoke about. But in any event, reading your comment, tutoring and mentorship are effective. It's not a busy assignment, and add the fact that it is it is black male administered. The results are even better. I don't even know where you get this from. I'm saying if all these mentorship programs and tutorings, right, were so effective in the grand scheme of things of turning the black community around, because I've seen mentor programs, I've seen tutoring programs, I've been a part of those programs, but we're talking about turning around the entire dynamic of what's going on in the black community. Not this bullshit of, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to discourage people from doing it, but not this shit where, out of 100 students, 10, 15, 20% are the ones that make it, and the rest of them, we know what the rest of the black community looks like. Okay, when we get to talking about dating and educated lames try to present themselves as, hey, why are you dealing with Pookie? Oh, what are we told? Oh, the majority of black men are like this. Oh, the majority of black men are over here on that. Oh, the majority of black men. So where is this being effective? It's not being effective, not in the grand scheme of things. So for you to even say that highlights the fact that you're out of touch. If this shit was working, be it the fact that these programs and all this stuff has been going on in the black community since probably the 1960s or before, if you can't see the fact that these programs have not worked in rectifying the socioeconomic condition of black people, I don't know what to tell you. Okay? The shit does not work in the grand scheme of things because at the end of the day, you keep wanting to ignore the fact that there's no economic opportunities for men. Okay? You keep wanting to ignore that. You got white men online talking about they can't afford a house, talking about, why are they going to go to college and get out and only make $40,000 a year, and they can't provide for themselves, and they can't make they can't make a living. We have the marriage age being pushed back all the way into people's early 30s, where, all the way up until the 1990s when it jumped to about 25, 26. Everybody prior to that was getting married in their early 20s. Okay, right after they finished college, right around 21, 22 years old. That's when you're a senior in college. That's 4 years after you graduate high school when you're 18 years old. And that's when people were getting married and when people were starting their lives and putting down payments if they, got a gift from their family. Okay. And now you have white people, you have even, again, Legia Miller, whatever her name is, mocking white men about, you need to just give up on the patriarchy because the whole model of Al Bundy and Homer Simpson, where you had one man providing for a family of four and living in the suburbs, is no longer viable. But yet you're telling me that black people, the most marginalized group, right, that due to tutor and mentor programs, we can totally turn around the whole black community when it comes to the narco economy, when it comes to all the gang shit, all the cultural negative shit in the black community that is due to prolonged exposure to poverty. You're telling me that all of that can be turned around by changing mindsets, right? Like as though the black church isn't filled with nothing but a change your mindset program. But again, why are black men not in the church? Because the black church doesn't provide any economic opportunities. And there are no economic opportunities like that. America deindustrialized. There is no manufacturing base. And everybody is not college material. And when you have a society where the people who are not college material, when they can't make it, you have a failing society. See, we're not just dealing with a failing black community at this point. We're dealing with a failing society. Okay, a failing society. You can go on YouTube and you can look at all these videos from all these men who have been ringing the alarms, in the manosphere for the past decade, and only now mainstream media is starting to pick up on it because now they're freaking out. The conservatives are freaking out. Ben Shapiro, freaking who's that other Matt Walsh, Jordan Peterson, you know what I mean? They're screaming white men need to go off and get married because, the dating markets and the white birth rates are in the shitter. And yet, amidst all of that, you're still going to tell me, oh no, what we need in the black community is some tutoring and some mentorship. Continuing. I don't know where you got the idea that it's a busy assignment. It's a busy assignment because, number one, you still haven't stated where the hell you're going to be living during this whole process of things being rectified. Where are you going to be living with your bougie sounding ass? Where are you going to be staying? Are you going to be staying in the white community, right? Or are you going to be living in the black community where things haven't been completely fixed yet, and you might have to deal with, your occasional riffraff and your homeless person and somebody shitting in a bucket across the street from your your home or your condo or your apartment or whatever. It's also seen as a busy assignment because of all of the feminist rhetoric that we've been discussing, over the years, where, again, just like Ebony K. Williams, now I'm talking about the women, just like Ebony K. Williams, said on The Breakfast Club, if, what a man who is making money doesn't want to hear, when he's got, a 2-week vacation in France, that you got to do a show out there in LA. And then when Charlemagne, interrupted her, which I'm kind of glad that he did. He was like, sounds like that comes from experience. She was like, I wouldn't be lying to you, Charlemagne. Of course it comes from experience. And see that right there, it's like, so hold on. Ebony K. Williams spent the entire show talking about Dusties and who's Dust and even in her conversation prior on The Breakfast Club talking about truck drivers and not dating truck drivers. Why didn't she tell the story of the guy that was going to take her on a 2-week vacation to France, but instead she had to go to the lawyers convention, or instead she had to go out there to LA? I'll tell you why she didn't say it. She didn't say it because, like so many other black women, see, they don't want to tell you about the stories of when they're dealing with men that have their shit together. They only want to tell you about the stories about when they're out here and they're dealing with Dusties. Okay, because they would look like fools if they sat there and I was with a brother and he was making enough money to take a 2-week vacation, right? Which is unusual to have, to take a 2-week vacation in the south of France. 2 weeks, not 1 week, 2-week vacation, back to back in the south of France. And Ebony K. Williams still saying, I got to be out there in LA. So again, if a dude is dusty, Ebony K. Williams is going to be out there in LA. If a dude has enough money to take a 2-week vacation, right, and offer her to come join him on his 2-week vacation, Ebony K. Williams is still going to be out there in LA. Okay, there's nothing that's going to change these women's behavior. And see, what you're trying to gloss over is the matriarchal stuff. Okay, the feminist stuff. That's where the whole "it's a busy assignment" came from, because a busy assignment is just simply, oh, we want you to go out there and we want you to do. It doesn't matter, and there's a condescension to it. It's just like that bullshit with that McDonald's commercial, with Kelvin. You know what I'm saying? Where people throw up well, why don't you just go get a job at McDonald's? Like that's going to do something for you. Like as though you can, go date and start a family or purchase a home on some McDonald's money. Okay, and see what people are telling you when they say that to you. That's what they really think about you. That's what they think about you. But they see, the thing is they just want you to go out there and do something. And this is the whole problem with women, and why women don't need to be in these conversations, because what women want is they want you to do something. Damn if it's actually effective or not. This is the same argument that we have when it comes to gun control, where you get these white liberals to jump up and they're like, we need to ban assault weapons, right? And they'll sit there and they'll point to incidents where assault weapons was used during a mass shooting, but the overwhelming majority of gun homicides are handguns. Handguns in the inner city, black on black crime. That is the majority of the overwhelming majority. Freaking rifles are like, I think it's like anywhere from 1% to 3%, less than 3% of all gun deaths are done with rifles. And then when it's just specifically AR-15s, it's less than 1%. So, again, it's about effectiveness, and men are much more astute at seeing, because since all the responsibility falls on us, because at the end of the day, women don't have to do anything. You don't. You don't have to do anything as women. You just sit there and you say, "Oh, well, I think, and my opinion is, well, you should do this and you should do that," but you have no idea what is or isn't effective outside of what you believe of some textbook, right? Or what you believe of these people that come online and spew a bunch of nonsense. It's and what I mean by spewing a bunch of nonsense, it's just like what's going on with the gender war. Okay. Everybody has been running around talking about, oh, why are women single? Oh, it's because, oh, men are failing and men are this and men are that. Never discussing, never asking men what they actually feel about the situation, and how women have tried to, change the social contract between, men and women, and all this, role reversal and all this matriarchal bullshit. Okay, but they'll go on television, and the women will just talk their points. And when the men try to say something, it's misogyny, silence them. We don't want to hear what men have to say. We as women are going to dictate to men, how they should think and how they should feel. And Fox News does the same thing to black people when they get up there and, instead of asking, a black person that has any sort of real consciousness about the black community, no, they go and they get themselves a coon or a conservative or Kundis Owens, or somebody like that, or Larry Elders, or Thomas Sowell. They'll go and get a black person like that, but they don't go and they don't get a everyday black person that is not on the coon train and has some sensibilities about the black community and white society overall. They don't go and ask that regular black person. No. They got to get the black person that they know is going to go up there and co-sign all of their talking points. Okay, it's a busy assignment. Well, we want you to do something. Okay, we don't want you to do anything. We want you to be productive. We want you to do something. But whether it's effective or not, that's not our problem. We don't really care about it being effective. We just want you to do something. It's a busy assignment. Continuing. In the comment that I just posted, one of the descriptions in the videos states that the Department of Justice reported that 85% of incarcerated youth cannot read. The proposal I submitted addresses that and more. It's like, see, now here you go throwing facts at me. Like, we don't know that. Like, we don't know that the men that are in prison are the majority of them disproportionately are runaways. The majority of them disproportionately grew up in single mother homes. The majority of them disproportionately can't read. The disproportionately they've been sexually molested. Like, all these sorts of things. You're just like throwing out facts like, oh, this means something. It still has nothing to do with what I said about the fact that we don't have any economic opportunities for these young men. We don't. We do not have anything that's going to let them live up to, whether it's the Christian principles or whether it's other basic concepts of manhood. Okay. We do not have those opportunities. There's no boom in America. Okay. There's no manufacturing base in America. Okay. What do you do with the men that don't go to college? If you didn't have to go to college in the 1950s, okay, you could graduate high school, go get a unionized job at one of the big three if you were in Detroit, or U.S. Steel, or U.S. Rubber, or Standard Oil, or any number of freaking companies that you could have gone to and worked and still been able to afford to live. Okay, that's no longer the case. And you want to completely ignore that, and but there's still so much that we could do. Again, just like Amos Wilson said, if you have manhood training programs and these men are still unemployed or underemployed, eventually they will throw out your value system because your value system does not benefit them. Again, why do these young men gravitate towards drug dealers? Because the drug dealers can show and prove what the fuck they got going on. They got the bitches, they got the cars, they got the money, they got the living situation. Okay, they got shit that young men are interested in fucking having. Okay, all this mentorship stuff does not demonstrate that. All these niggas talking about, oh, I got the sweet twinkle of white Jesus in my eye. Oh, come walk into the masjid. Oh, come understand the law. All that other shit. They're dusty and they don't have shit going on. That shit is not fly. That shit is not attractive to young, horny men that are interested in developing relationships with women and understand the basics of the fact that in order to get the girls that you want, watching the girls' actions, that you got to have a little bit of material wealth on. You got to have something going on. You just don't get to walk in the room and be like, I'm me. That shit does not work. Continuing. You slammed my idea and said that it won't work. No, it will not work because, again, you have to have gainful employment for these men. On top of the fact that at this point of the game, okay, we have over 70% of black children that are being raised in single mother households. This is not the 1950s or 1960s where you're dealing with a significantly less, where you have a majority of two-parent households. This is not what you're dealing with. Okay, we're dealing with a situation where we are decades deep in prolonged exposure to poverty, decades deep in broken homes and fatherless homes, decades deep into poverty and the welfare state, decades deep into deindustrialization. Okay, decades deep into an environment where these young men, when they graduate high school, don't have the ability to just simply, walk into a place and hand them their resume. Continuing, let me go back because I interrupted myself. You slammed my idea and said that it won't work. Correct, it won't work because no gainful employment. But then you are not able or willing to provide a proposal that can be readily implemented or that is sustainable. There is nothing for me to present. If you don't have jobs, if you don't have gainful employment, that is the end of the conversation. Period. That's like you're on the side of the road and your car is out of gas. Okay? Either somebody's going to walk to the gas station, or we're just going to be sitting on the side of the road. We could throw up, call AAA or some bullshit like that. But the point is, the car's not moving if we don't put gas in the car. And money is the fuel. Okay, money allows you to do things. Money allows you to plan. Without that, you're done. And again, going back to the being, decades knee deep in this shit. we have so many problems at this point. Again, the way that you're talking, and Cap even told you this in the last comment, the way that you're talking assumes that we have way more intact homes than we actually do. It assumes that all of these young men actually have a support system. And I'm here to tell you that they don't have a support system. I have witnessed it with my own eyes that they don't have a support system. And many of them, they got to do co-op. They got to immediately go out there and try to help my dukes in any way that they can. Okay. And when I'm talking about gainful employment, I'm not talking about them working at Target or Walgreens or Walmart or Home Depot. No, the man can't support a family off of that. No, hell, what's funny is Home Depot got rid of all of its professional people, that they used to have on the floor, because when you used to go into Home Depot, the people who used to work in there were actually craftsmen and tradesmen. But the thing is Home Depot didn't want to pay them. Now you go into Home Depot, when you ask people, where's this or what's going on with that, the people that you're talking to now, they don't know what the fuck is going on. You might have one person in that whole store that knows exactly what you're looking for and what the fuck is going on when you're trying to, find a certain fixture or a certain, L-shaped pipe or something like that. You got one person in there that figured that shit out. The rest of them, no, because again, Home Depot don't want to pay people. Nobody wants to pay. And this and what you're seeing, the society over, is a byproduct of that. Conservatives and people like yourself, they can go up there and they can talk about the sweet twinkle of white Jesus. They can talk about morality. They can talk about behavior. They can talk about mindsets. All they want. You're not getting around the fact that nobody is paying the type of wages to support a fucking family. And once that's off the table, you know what I mean? It's a freaking free for all. Anything goes at that point. You're not going to be able to beholden people to standards that were predicated off there actually being gainful employment out there in the world like that. Continuing, in your response, you say, give black men employment and give them arms as a solution. Yeah, the point that I was making is, number one, you got to have men that are gainfully employed, even during the process of them being, trained and mentored. Okay. And I don't care whether they're being apprentices or whatever, but they got to be paid, period. They're not going to stick around, especially those in poverty. They don't got time to fucking waste. Okay. Because they're in survival mode. They're struggling. They don't have a supportive parents and shit like that. But continuing about the solution with arms, yeah, because again, the culture that currently exists in the black community is thoroughly entrenched. Everything about having safe communities, everything about having men being in the homes and protecting their family from, those who would violate. Like I said before, many of those guys are going to have to be put in the dirt. And that's going to happen sooner than later. I'm saying, if we had a situation where economic opportunities, showed up, majority of the men would immediately, drop all the illegal activity that they're doing. But you would still have stragglers. You would still have your Nagans. You would still have your individuals that love the game. You know what I mean? Like the Mekhi Phifer's character in Paid in Full. You would still have those individuals, and they would have to be taken out. Point blank, period. And again, another conversation, that women don't need to be a part of, because women don't know where the edge is. Women don't know when a motherfucker has to be taken out, has to be blown away. You know what I mean? Like that movie, which was a real story, which was what was his name? Rex McElroy. You know what I mean? And the movie is called In Broad Daylight, and that's a movie of a community. I forget what state it was. I want to say it was like Georgia or something like that. But anyway, it's a movie of a white man that was basically terrorizing the town. He was the town bully. He had sexually assaulted a young woman. He had beat up an elderly couple and everything. And the town, they got sick of the guy and they blew his ass away. Not the entire town, but apparently there were 3 shooters. And he went out to his truck, and the scene is right there at the end of the movie. He goes out to his truck, and they shot him with 3 different caliber guns. Okay, right in his truck, pulled his wife, his underage wife, I don't know if she was underage at that point, but she was underage when they got married, pulled her out of the car. And, as they were shooting the car, they lit his ass up. And when the cops came around, nobody talked. That murder is still unsolved. Look it up. It's Rex McElroy. I'm pretty sure that's what his name is. They did an entire movie on that. And I think that was in 1989 when they did that movie. I could be wrong. I don't know if that was the event that was done in 1989, like that's when it happened, or that's when the movie came out. Hold on. Oh shit. Where am I at? How does this magically make black men community oriented? How does what make black men being gainfully employed? It doesn't. It doesn't. I never said that it did. And it seems to be that like that's what your fear is, which is the irony is I told Cap that a long time ago. Not that that was your fear, but I told him that when you don't have the draw or the situation of there being the concept of a patriarchal black community that black men are going to participate in, the idea of needing a black woman is going to be off the table, especially when they go out there and they interact with other races of women who are more patriarchally oriented. And unfortunately, what we see now is you're going to have, black men that do have their money, which is another reason why black women don't want black men to have money, because as soon as they get money, they're gonna roll the fuck out of the community. Not based on self-hatred, but because they can't get black women, to freaking, cooperate. You know what I mean? You got the chick in the car, with the Indian dude. We see how that went. And I hate to use, three light skinned women. I really shouldn't. But, what's funny is this actually helps black men when it comes to the women who want to make the arguments about colorism. Because all these women are acting and behaving culturally black, and you see how bad they behave. So you got the black woman in the car with the Indian dude that everybody's talking about right now. You got Jada Pinkett and all the antics that she's doing, with not respecting her marriage and whatnot, right? And posting shit at Tupac and all this other just dumb shit and trying to woman-splain, it away. Okay. Then you got Ebony K. Williams, whether I'm with a broke dude or whether I'm with a man that's got money, I'm going to be in LA. Okay. Then you got Tia Mowry, who divorced her husband for no apparent fucking reason. And nobody's ever heard any scandals or anything negative, about her, her husband, you know what I mean? And black women over there cheering her on, clapping her on. You go, girl, you empowering and everything. But now they looking around. They like, wait a minute. And now you got sisters, they flipping the script. They're like, wait a minute, this chick, you done, you should have stayed in your marriage because these streets are savage. And now she getting mad and blocking people on Twitter and all this other type of stuff. Like we have, so many, of these cultural examples. It's not even funny. Of just women just behaving badly, and I am Eloho. I treat men who are broke and men who make money. I treat them just the same. You know what I mean? Or Aisha K. Faines, with her, women loves power bullshit. You know what I mean? And then Carl checked her. Well, it sounds to me like you need to subordinate me. I don't date nothing but powerful men. You know what I mean? R.I.P. Aisha K. Faines. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, the list just goes on and on of these women. Got for Harriet, and the shit that she's on. And then you got Cynthia G and the shit that she's on. And then all the rest of these, female man haters that are sitting around, online. But yeah, there's like what you're trying to do is you're trying to secure the idea that the men are going to be community focused once they get the money. And I'm telling you that you got a two-part problem. One, they got to be able to have their own dreams and their own ideas of what they want to do with their own money. And then again, add a black woman to their program, which I already know majority of black women don't want. They don't want to be added to, a black man's program. Again, I direct you to the Cat Fu series and, Don Nicoleon and all the dumb shit that she was saying in the video. My husband showed me some houses. I told him that motherfucker need to get that shit out of my face. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, the shit just goes on and on. Yeah, I have to agree with him. I was in a loving, benevolent relationship. You know what I mean? But, because of me, I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. You know what I mean? What did she say? Because what she said? Because I was listening to me. She was like, I made sure that me and that nigga was not me and that nigga no more. You know what I mean? This is what black men are talking about. Okay, so and what's so funny is you want to talk about black men's mindset in terms of, oh, they got to be community focused. Like, you can whisper that into black men's ears, as opposed to talking about black women's behavior and how black men view black women, and how black women are going to change their behavior and their mindset as it pertains to black men who have resources. Because whether you're community focused or not, a black man should not be saying to himself, I need to go out here and get with a white woman because black women are not cooperative, or any other race of woman because black women are not cooperative. Whether you're community focused or not, if a black woman is not cooperative, you can't be community focused. And you seem to want to just gloss right over that. Because again, and I don't know what went on with you or what happened, you know what I mean? But it seems like, because even for me, soon I will be attending, a wedding, of a black man who's marrying a white woman, one of many. You know what I mean? And it's like, and that's what I feel like, even going to Samantha Cooker. Samantha Cooker recently made a video talking about, she felt that the divestment movement has pushed black men further away. And whatever. It's like bittersweet to a lot of us, brothers, because we already said that shit. Y'all was running around, y'all going to swirl, you getting with Grant Wellington the third, and y'all doing this and doing that. Like, y'all were talking mad shit. And now you looking around and shit really hasn't changed for y'all. It really hasn't changed for the collective of y'all. And now you're freaking out because you know what it means when black men literally are the ones that are divesting more than you all are and turning their backs on you all. And what you're not going to do is act like, oh no, it's because black men are dysfunctional. It just comes out of their dysfunction. It has nothing to do with the way that we have treated black men, with the way that we have interacted with black men, with the way that we have disrespected black men, with the way that we have disregarded black men, with the way that we have put down black men. No, you're not gonna come on here and do that. I'm not gonna allow you to do that. Continuing, where are we at? Black men, what is this? Wait, hold on. Where is this at? Blah, blah, blah. Black men oriented. Black men have resources now. What are they doing with it? They're living their life. They're living their life because we don't have a critical mass of black men that are on the same page. We don't. We don't even have a community that's on the same page. We don't have women that are on the same page. And then again, as I stated before, that whole value system, like where you had suggested, that the smart black men tutor the black men who are struggling and the black men who are failing. Number one, you act like these young men value an education, which many of them do not, because that education has not or does not equate to anything that they can actually see where they can get on like they see the drug dealers getting on. Now, I'm not saying it has to be to that extreme, but again, this goes back to why I said men would have to live in the community. They would have to be in that environment and be visible and to demonstrate, what, legitimate men, do in the community and how they function. You know what I mean? Like there was a point in time where a young black man, he wanted to get on and get married as soon as possible so that the older men in the community would actually respect him. That doesn't exist anymore. If these young boys want anybody's respect, they want the respect of the niggas that they see getting all the pussy, which are the problematic black men that black women love to sit there and cry and claim that black women are getting deleted every 5.5 hours and all this other shit. And these men don't take care of their kids and all this other stuff. Yeah, but these are the men that you're having kids with. These are the men that you're screaming about. These are the men that are swagnificent and sexy and got charisma and game and all that stuff. These are the men that you all gravitate towards. Why would a young black boy be interested in what a young black boy who has better grades than him is doing when that is not valued in the community. It's not valued by any of the women in the community. You know what I mean? And then not only that, nobody even sees where that education is being applied in the community. Continuing, I gotta get ready to charge this. Hopefully, this thing doesn't freaking stop on me. Let me see if I can plug this damn thing in right now before, because I had that shit happen to me last time. Where's the? All right, come on. All right, here we go. So continuing, you still have not answered that question. I just answered it. They're living life. That's what they're doing. They're living life. Because there's not a critical mass, there's no movement, there's no economic opportunities, there's none of this stuff. And I know a lot of people, and I don't say this proudly, that the black community, has already died. But as soon as you're not getting around me when it comes to the money, I have pushed back tremendously against Captain Solo, on this front. And when he started, looking around, and I'm like, there's no opportunities for these men. There's no opportunities for these men. And then when we get into the relationship part, you don't have a bunch of black women that, are looking to be cooperative. Or even when we talk about, fixing and repairing the community, many of these bougie ass black women, they don't want to live there. It's a busy assignment. So let me get this right. So even after I fixed it, or after I fix it, after I repair it, it's still not going to be good enough. That's a busy assignment. Continuing. In 2021, the BC spent $1.6 trillion. See, here's that talking point. Like there's some magic pot of gold that the black people can, dip their hands in. And what's so stupid about the $1.6 trillion argument? How much money did the white community spend in comparison? How much money did the Asian community spend in comparison? How much money did the Hispanic community spend in comparison? You see, like don't just throw some shit up and not put the comparison there. The BC is also losing assets which can be avoided, such as heirs property. Yeah, I agree with that. Because you have people who are not educated on wealth and transactions of wealth, and I know about the whole housing thing, and even with that, like even that can get complicated because you got people they done split their DNA one too many times. So now you got half siblings fighting over who's gonna get grandma's house. Okay, and typically, you'll have the person that is the most educated, whatever, having to hold down everybody else. Okay, this is one of the main reasons why black people can't accumulate wealth, is because when they become wealthy, they have to take care of siblings and relatives and all that, because their family members are struggling and not as well off as they are, and that becomes a problem. And so their money, they gotta bail Pookie out. They gotta help Tyrone with football gear. They gotta what else? Help Keisha with the new baby, and helping her with diapers that she's calling every 2.5-3 weeks that she needs something for the baby, because the piece of shit guy that she got with doesn't fucking help out with the situation. And these are the type of things that drain money and resources and wealth from black people. It's just a fact. How can this be ignored, and who's ignoring it? Are resources and assets being maximized? Clearly, they're not being maximized. And the thing is what wealth and resource? What resources and assets? Black people don't have resources and assets like that. You know what I mean? Don't just sit there and bring up, they got freaking grandma's house. Grandma's literally from the fucking boomer or silent generation, totally different generation. Where they actually were able to have something, and then we can talk about the whatever, inflation or whatever, the growth of the that particular property. But nobody since then has done anything. Nobody since then has established anything or put anything together. So you got one person that puts some assets together, and then everybody else after that has squandered it. The 1960s integrationist model individualism does not work for black men. In fact, individualism doesn't work, for anyone, and black men have to learn to work together. I agree with that. I don't know what that has to do with what I said about there's no gainful employment for young black men. And even the black men that have great careers and jobs, they're working for the white man. Hasn't that been the argument online for like the last like freaking 15 years of people jumping up saying like, oh, black man, we don't gotta respect you as black women because you work for the white man. You the white man's bitch. Wasn't that what was being said? Okay, many of these men have skills in those fields, being an employee, but they don't know anything about going into business. And I'm saying that's a problem, and that has to be addressed. But that's not going to change the whole aspect of controlling infrastructure, controlling docks, possibly going to Africa, creating a manufacturing base in Africa, bringing goods and services or materials from Africa over to the U.S. to be processed and all that sort of stuff. That's what would have to take place, because black people, we don't control any of that. We're just employees. We work, we go to college, we get degrees, and then we go out here and we try to find the best job that we can find. That is where the vast majority of your educated black men are. Even with some of these other organizations that I see where these guys are investing and they're doing stuff online, and it's just kind of like play money. There never seems to be any sort of brick and mortar. And I'm not saying that brick and mortar is the way to go, because a lot of stuff is online, but it doesn't seem to be anything like where, you have companies where it's like, oh, we have 300 employees or something like that, right? You don't see that with black men. You see like one guy that's like, I'm running a successful Airbnb. I'm running a successful Toro business. You know what I'm saying? So it's like linked into these sort of like, I don't want to call them Ponzi schemes, but these sort of like get rich quick, over leverage the fuck out of something, and then and I'm not knocking it. But I'm saying, in terms of, if you're saying that the black community is a place where black people reside, and then there's a main street and there's businesses there and there's grocery stores and all that stuff, I'm like, there has to be a major industry that is employing all of those people. Okay, like Detroit is where it's at, and Detroit City became Detroit City because General Motors moved there, first, and said, this is what we're gonna build. We're gonna, establish this. We're gonna, and I'm saying, before it was General Motors, it was probably something else. And the freaking, I mean, it's on the Hudson, right? Everything was being transported by water, whether it was the grain coming out of the Midwest, or whether it was, freaking beaver skins from the French in Ontario or some shit like that. Okay. Shit was moving out of the country, through the Hudson and through the Mississippi. That's where it was going, going through the Great Lakes and coming out the Hudson River. You know what I'm saying? So again, economic boom. Okay. I guess what people don't understand is there's a complete difference between establishing in a community. Like, let's just say there was some piece of land somewhere on planet Earth that had, let's just say the polar ice caps melt and sea levels rise, and now there's a landmass known as Antarctica, and the Earth is warmer, and North America is too hot to live, and everybody starts moving down to Antarctica. Okay, that's going to be a boom. People are going to be claiming land. There's going to be companies that are like, oh, or nations are going to be like, oh, if you go down there first and you live down there, we're going to, have you, we're going to give you this and give you land and everything. Just like how America was freaking colonized. Same thing with what Elon Musk is trying to do with Mars. Okay. The first people that go to Mars, okay, that are going to live in these habitats and shit like that. Okay. They're going to be setting up their ancestors real nice, at least for a few generations. Okay, because they're gonna be like, okay, I'm claiming, I'm claiming Olympus Mons. All of Olympus Mons is mine because I'm the first motherfucker here. Like who's gonna challenge me? I'm the first motherfucker here, right? And then Elon Musk will be like, oh well, I get to at least have 25% of that because I ain't going. You know what I'm saying? So it'll be some situation like that. Okay, that is how communities are established. This whole thing with black people being, like sucking off of the fumes of the white community, being discriminated against, riding the coattails of whatever white people are doing, living in the shittiest areas, the shittiest districts, and then white people deindustrialize the nation, and then black people are stuck there, upside down, redlined, out of these, out of the suburbs to death and whatnot, and then people go, oh, even though the industries have died, you black people, you should be able to fix your community. The lifeblood is gone. It's a gold mine gone bust. Okay? The white people who were making money in Detroit were making money because the auto industry was there. And yet somehow, the white people leave and then give black people the keys to the sinking ship. And then the white people go, oh, well, see, black people, see what happens when they take over a city. See what happens. I'm like, there's no industry here. No industry equals what? No tax base. No tax base means that all the things that you would pay for that would go through the city council and the mayor and all that other shit, you don't even have that. So again, we can talk about a black man opening up a mom and pop shop here and a mom and pop shop there. That is not going to put neighborhoods into effect. That's not gonna suddenly make black men make enough money to where they look at Detroit and they be like, oh man, look at all these rundown homes. Oh man, let me go to the bank, to the white bank, and get a what do you call that shit? Not a home equity loan, to get a what's the damn shit called? The damn, I want to say refurbishing, but to get a loan to renovate the property, and then they're going to get the loan to renovate the property because the bank looks and says, I see that you're working at, I don't know, freaking iRobot Robotics. Okay. Oh, I see that you're working at iRobot Robotics. Oh, I see that you make, freaking $135,000 a year. Oh, okay. Well, I don't mind lending you X amount of dollars. Okay. And then he goes, takes the money, renovates the house, maybe knocks down the house, gets a contractor, puts up a new house. Okay. And then other black people who also work at iRobot come into the neighborhood and say, oh, this is really nice. We could turn this into something. And then they go and then they do the same thing. And then they build up their houses. And then the neighborhood looks nice. You don't have that going on. You somehow are skipping all of that and saying, oh, if we just simply read to some, 11-year-old black boys, oh my God, we're turning the community around. And what happens when they turn 18? What opportunities are they going to have when they turn 18? Oh, you say, oh, go to college. Okay. How are they going to go to college when they live with their single mom who doesn't have enough money because she works part-time at Target? How is that going to work? We'll get them scholarships. Okay, you might be able to get them. You might be able to get them scholarships, but oftentimes those scholarships don't cover everything. His mom is still going to be, stretched, for cash, even with the damn scholarship. That's why this whole thing with the basketball players and them being able to make money while in college, that shit is a blessing. Because before they would just be over there just, struggling and shit like that. You're not dealing with a community where anybody is gainfully employed like that. You got people living paycheck to paycheck with paychecks that are weak. And somehow you're just glossing right over that. Where am I at? Blah, 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 blah. As I mentioned in the previous response, I spoke with someone and they said they talked to a series of black men from multiple generations, and none of them were taught from a man's perspective about the community, and none of them felt a duty, to the community. Yes, yeah, of course. First off, the community's been broken for a very long time. First thing I ever ask when I talk to black people, that come from the inner city is, about when I talk to them about the community, what response I get a lot of times? What the community ever do for me? That's a number one response I get from black men that come from the inner city. What the community ever do for me? And as somebody who grew up in the suburbs, I'm always amazed at how, when you talk to black people, they're always talking about, what about the community? What about the community? You should be doing something for the community, blah, 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 blah. But when it comes to the people that actually live in the community, first thing out their mouth is, what the community ever do for me? The other thing is, some people got the message and other people didn't. What I mean? We can go back to Dr. Claude Anderson having these conversations in the 70s with his Powernomics. We can go to Amos Wilson in the 90s and in the 80s having these conversations about mindset and what needs to be done in the community. You know what I mean? But he never left out the economic component. He didn't leave that out. He never excluded that. If you have young men and you teach them into manhood training program, this is a quote. You can go and look up Feel Good History. It says it right in there, which is one of his last speeches because he died in 1995 from what I believe was throat cancer or something like that. He had some type of cancer. But anyway, he said it. If you train them into these manhood training programs and they're still jobless and they're still unemployed, eventually they will toss out your value system because it doesn't benefit them. It doesn't behoove them. Where are we at? Where am I at? Perspective about the community, and none of them felt a duty to the community. Don't you have a problem with that, or see how this thought process is damaging to the performance of black men and wealth generation? Yeah, of course I recognize that, but that's not going to change without gainful employment. You and see the problem that I have with you is what you like and this is where black women fuck up, okay? Because you're trying to dictate the terms of what black men should do, as opposed to recognizing what motivates them and why they do what they do. Whatever black men decide to do will be on their terms. And black women seem to have a fucking problem with that shit. They always seem like I'm going to dictate to you what you should be doing or what you should be concerned about. No, you're along for the ride. And see, black women don't like that. If black men decide to do nothing, you're along for the ride. If black men decide to go and create Wakanda, you're along for the ride. But you are along for the ride. And see, y'all don't like that. My proposal seeks to reverse. See this? My proposal seeks to reverse this mentality. You're not going to reverse the mentality without starting with men being gainfully employed. And again, I don't have the answers for gainful employment. Not that type of employment. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if I went and started a small business tomorrow, I wouldn't have the money to pay somebody, the type of money that I think that a black man should be making in order to support a family. And then give them full medical and dental and then try to set up a retirement plan and give them a pension. Haven't you seen that they've eliminated pensions and they, getting people to gamble in the stock market with a 401k? Haven't you seen that? Haven't you seen the reality that they're trying to get? Basically, they keep pushing back retirement age, and what they're trying to do is get people to work until they die. That whole 30 in, and 30 in and then 30 out, and then you die. Like, no, they don't want to deal with that. Or people outliving their pensions. No, 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 no. No, they want you to work until you die, and that is the new model coming from the white oligarchy. Where else is this? Let's see. I spoke with someone. No. Where am I at? Okay. I recommend looking at into project management in a separate response. For a reason. Everything cannot be implemented at the same time, and you have to be willing to satisfy. Is that a word? Instead, you rather do nothing. Every response you have is focused on why it cannot work. No, what it's focused on is the fact that it starts with gainful employment. And I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth with a woman about what motivates men or what men should be doing, and the conversation doesn't start with gainful employment. Again, if you don't have the answers to that, that's fine. I don't have the answers to that. Okay? Because again, when we're talking about fixing the black community where black people reside and turning it into a place that people actually want to live, you got to start that conversation with young black men being gainfully employed where they can start their lives and begin to make moves as early as possible. If that's not what you're talking about, then these conversations are fruitless. They're fruitless. And again, if you got the answers, well, then I suggest that you go and bring your shit to somebody else who will entertain you talking the same old tired talking points that I've heard before. It's the same bullshit that the black church talks about, when they want you to get all into white Jesus and they want you to come to Bible study and this, that, and the third. And yet they're going to ask for tithes every Sunday. But then whenever you get to talking about young men needing money and gainful employment and all this other shit, they want to ignore that. What they want is they want people to behave and fall in line and subscribe to the Bible and act like they have resources when they don't. And it seems like in this society, it's like there's like this race to the bottom, right? Like we started off, with a society, or at least let's say white people, they started off with a society where even when it just came to themselves, it was, you put in the work and you make enough money to where you can provide, for yourself. Or at least white people, they had to fight for that because obviously that wasn't the case, in the late 1800s. But eventually, with enough protesting and enough voting and all that other stuff, they got rid of the what were they called? What were they called? The fucking, the fat cats. They got all these cartoons from like the 19 teens and 1920s and whatnot. What were they called? The trust funds, the trust babies and shit like that, right? They created monopoly laws. They brought all that shit under control. Okay. And personally, I don't even think that's what really kicked shit off. And again, it might just be, it just might be the times, because I'll say this, the idea of that kind of sunk into the American psyche, like in terms of work and gainful employment and being able to, lay a foundation and your kids, be, slightly better off than you were, or at the very least at the same level that you started. Okay. Or at the same level that you died at or whatever. But really looking at it, it's friggin' World War II was a blessing for America, economically speaking. World War II was a blessing, and again, that whole military industrial complex, the war machine, World War III, and Israel versus Palestine and everybody jumping in on it. Oh, that'll probably be the greatest thing since sliced bread for the American economy. I don't know who's going to go over there and fight with all this other shit going on in the background where masculinity is toxic and we don't want masculine men. And then again, men, who are either coming up of age or who have been of military age, they haven't been able to get their life started. So like the way that they look at it is they don't even have anything to fight for. Aside from, even looking at all the feminism and shit and all the rhetoric and everything else like that, they are shutting down either through whatever self-deletion or drugs or just, basically just checking out and playing video games and numbing themselves with alcohol or a whole host of other things. But I'm saying America had a nice little 20-year run from about, 1940 to, 1970, 75, something like that. No, I'd say 1940 to probably about 1980. And then, everything just went to shit. And it's been slowly, over the last, 30, 40 years, going to shit. And, the conservatives are up there. they're constantly trying to, oh no, see, we gotta Prager you it to death, personal responsibility. Oh, you gotta have the sweet twinkle of Jesus in your eye, and you gotta work hard, and you gotta this, and you gotta that. And see, now the young white men are starting to wake up to the reality that, like, they're like, nah, bro, your math ain't mathing. And see, that's very bad, because then, like I said, that's where you get the white guys. They start joining the militias, the white supremacist groups, and all these other things. Right? They're looking for somebody to blame. They're looking for somebody to target. Right? At least many of them have the generation right. When they scream "Okay, Boomer." But I'm saying, this shit is beyond just what can the black community do, like this, like, again, we still live underneath the system of white supremacy. White people still control the overwhelming vast majority of wealth in this country. We just running over there trying to get a piece of the cheese and whatnot. But I'm saying their ship is sinking. So to think that our ship is going to be rising while their ship is sinking, and while we're on the same ship, that's dumb. That's dumb. You're not looking at it for what it is. You're still talking this fucking shit from the goddamn, from the, I don't know, the 40s and the 60s of black people, especially black women. Always that fat black woman in the church with the church hat, and it got the ideas of Jesus, and it's all just a bunch of wishful thinking and whatnot. No practicality. It's all based on what she believes of the fucking Bible and all that bullshit, as opposed to looking at it for what it is and actually understanding, human psychology, actually understanding what motivates people, what motivates men specifically. Right? They don't even ask men. They don't even, it's just, oh, we just think it's this. Oh, black boys are this. And if we do this, and this is the solution, because, all you got to do is take what you do with the girls and then apply it and do it to the boys, and voila, it'll be the same shit. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. First off, when it comes to training boys, it's going to cost, as Captain Solo said, a lot more resources. Do you see a whole bunch of female mechanics walking around? Do you see a whole bunch of female mechanics? I don't. Have you ever gone to the Pep Boys or fucking, Jiffy Lube or even any any one of these mechanic shops? Have you ever gone there and seen a female mechanic? I haven't. Not saying they don't exist, but I haven't. And the training that goes into becoming a mechanic. You know what I mean? I mean, hell, the training that goes into becoming a truck driver of an 18-wheeler. You know what I mean? These are adult trainings. But I'm saying, even in high school, when they used to have, remember when they used to have metal shop? When I went to high school, they had metal shop. They took that shit out. They used to have wood shop. And we had the guy that the motherfucker was missing fingers and shit, and was like, today we're going to learn the safety rules. And the motherfuckers have his hand up and missing a fucking finger, like, oh shit, man. Then he's like, now what you got to do is you got to turn on the jigsaw. She was, I'm sitting there like, I don't want to lose my fucking fingers. You know what I mean? Now, that shit wouldn't even fly in school right now. They'd be like, no, it's a safety issue, liability, we got to sign these safety waivers and all this other type of bullshit. Then the biggest one, and this shit used to always fascinate me in high school, the auto mechanic shop. I was like, yo, they got a real car in there. They got a garage in the school, and they got like a real car in there. And they would have, and the thing is like, what they had in my high school, they had a car that like the students would work on, and then they had a car that was like a custom car that was like, and this is what it could be, right? So they had like this like hot rod that was in there. The fucking engine was sticking out the top of the shit. You know what I mean? And then the guy that was the instructor for the auto mechanic shop, he had, his own personal, fucking hot rod. He had two of them, because I think the one that was in the garage was his. And then he had another one, like a personal one that he drove around. And man, that shit was sweet. That shit means like, man, let me learn some auto mechanic shit so I could work on my own car, build my own engine, do my own shit, put my own rims on and everything. See, all of that, like, let's just say a young black boy had that type of vision, and he was just really into cars, wanted to hook up his own cars. Okay, where are you gonna park the shit in the inner city living in your mom's single your single mom's apartment? Where you going to do that shit? Or even some of the people that want to have that bands or play the drums. You know what white boys in the suburbs were doing? They were getting together, back in the day, on some Green Day shit. They get the drum, they have the drummer, the bass player, the guitars, and them motherfuckers would just jam out in the garage. You know what I mean? You would vaguely hear the noise, down the street or something like that. Inner city black kids, they gotta be at the school in order to do that shit, which means they gotta take the bus to get to the school, or or stay after school and then take the late bus or take public transportation to get back home. Again, resources based type of shit. I mean, how many like black kids that I saw that not only could they not afford the saxophone, then you would have situations where they had an issue because if you don't know, with the saxophone or any of the reed instruments, you have to have a reed. It's like a little piece of wood, you know what I mean? And if the shit splits at the end, then they can't play with that. They got to go and they got to replace it, and again, that's money. It's a consumable item. Okay? But anyway, getting back to what I was saying about the auto mechanic shit, again, even if he had the vision to want to do that, where is he going to park the car? Where is he going to get the resources? You got to be gainfully employed if you want to buy an engine. You know how much? Let's just say a motherfucker wanted to build an engine and got some fantasy about some shit he wanted to build. You know how much a Elephant engine costs? And you don't even have to go with Elephant. You can go with anything else that you want to do. But you got to be gainfully employed to do that. Maybe he wants to be in guns. Maybe he wants to manufacture his own AR-15s, or at the very least slap together his own AR-15s with his own style. Pick out the bolt carrier, the muzzle brake, the freaking upper receiver, the lower receiver, the type of stock he wants to put on there. Certain type of accents, the mag release he wants to put on there. Maybe the lower receiver has a mag release built into. Not a mag release, but maybe it has a bolt release built into the lower receiver. All type of stuff, lights, attachments, everything else. He wants to get into something like that. All that costs money to be able to buy into that. You want to know why? You get a lot of black kids that go and they get into beat making and shit like that, because that's something that they can actually do. All right, electronic stuff, they can actually do that. Maybe they can get their hands on an old computer that runs the software that they're trying to do. They can actually do that. It doesn't require a whole bunch of space. It's not like Edsel Ford that had a whole detached freaking a garage behind his freaking house that Henry Ford had, where he had a fucking machine shop in there. Now, obviously, that's extreme, but I'm saying y'all really woefully underestimate. Y'all want to, especially y'all black single mothers, y'all want to bitch about, all these black boys and they all fucked up and everything. And like Ebony K. Williams going out there and doing the whole in vitro fertilization and having a kid by herself. Now, granted, Ebony has the money for that shit, but other women got the same stupid ass mentality and don't have the resources, get with the wrong dude, have a baby with the wrong dude. And they have a son, and they got no space for boys. They got no backyard for the boy. They got no place for him to run around. They got no place for him to experiment and fuck up and learn shit. You know what I'm saying? Like boys need room to make errors. You know what I mean? Like, you ever see like the mad scientist kid in the cartoons? You know what I mean? The fucking half the house, like boom, like, what was that? Sorry, Mom. The kid comes upstairs with his glasses all crooked and shit like that. Sorry, Mom. I was trying to perfect the transflux capacitor, but God damn it, I have to go back down and look at these equations again because the structure is not right. Like shit like that. That's the type of shit that you're going to have boys do. I'm saying girls can do the same thing. But again, when you want to talk about boys and the innovation of white males and white patriarchy and what white men have accomplished and everything, they were given the space and the room to do that. It's like even with World War I, the pilots. You know who the pilots were in World War I? The pilots were the children of the aristocrats because they were the only ones that could fucking afford a fucking a plane and do that sorts of things and fly around. They were the ones that became the first pilots in warfare. They were the why do you think they call it the what do they call it the Red Baron? Baron is a title. So again, like having conversations with black women about this, like, oh, we're going to turn black boys into that in the inner city, with no economic opportunities and no manufacturing base, a crumbling infrastructure, a whole fucked up kids to resource ratio where women have way too many kids and not enough fucking resources. When you see like that video clip that Samantha Cooker posted with that woman going to the goddamn Walmart with 4 fucking kids that she had with some Dusty. Now you tell me she doesn't have a car. She's walking with a stroller with 4 kids in it. She can't even whatever she picked up. She got like some bananas. She can't even, like, how the fuck do you even carry whatever it is you need back to wherever the hell you walked from? Okay, living in a goddamn fucking most likely hotel, and got these 4 kids. So what's going to happen when those 4 kids need clothes? What's going to happen when they need when God forbid any one of them need a vehicle? Then Mom Dukes is not going to be able to help out with that. You see, because they again, with all her magic Jesus bullshit, she went out there, and this is why I be wanting to put hands on these fucking Christian pastors and whatnot, because they go out here and they fucking they take advantage of these people, these low IQ people, and they fill their heads full of a whole bunch of magical white Jesus bullshit, and then they go out there with all this wishful thinking and hope and God this and God freaking what do they usually say? They'll say like something like God surpasses all or some bullshit like that, and then they go out there and they make decisions based on the ideas that God's going to take care of it, that God has a plan for them. So no matter what decision they make, God had, this is what God wanted. And then they go out there and they have 4 kids with no fucking resources. And then, the church is just sitting there like, well, I ain't told them to do that. The fuck you didn't. The fuck you didn't. You may not have told them that shit directly, but you damn sure facilitated them thinking like that. You didn't teach them how to critically think. And I'm saying, even if they are freaking low IQ and whatnot, the shit you put in their head most certainly didn't help. So, again, when it comes to, the things that need to be done, I'm not going to discourage anybody from helping and assisting in whatever ways that they can. I don't want to sit there and belittle it and say that they're putting a Band-Aid on a hemorrhaging wound. But my ears don't perk up until people start talking about gainful employment, until they start talking about a jobs bill. Like if Joe Biden was up there talking about an infrastructure bill, and then a certain number of those jobs that would be needed for all this, government infrastructure bill shit, would be allocated toward, okay, black men make up 7% of the population. Well, 7% of those positions will be allocated to black men. Something like that. Okay. And then black men are traveling around the country, maybe starting families, making damn good money, calling home saying, hey, how's Daquan? Yeah, I'm over here. Yeah, we just got done, putting down, a new, the super speed railway that goes from freaking New York to San Francisco. Some shit like that. Like they did when they built the Alaskan pipeline. Go watch videos on the Alaskan pipeline. So again, I don't want to be condescending myself or sexist myself, but again, this is like one of those areas where it's like, why are women in the conversation? Because you don't get it. These aren't even things that interest women like that. I mean, you can sit there and just watch a bunch of History Channel videos on how they built the Hoover Dam or how they built the fucking the Alaskan pipeline. You know what I mean? Or how they built move this blew up one stadium and replaced it with another. Watch those type of fucking videos. How they built the Empire State Building or something like that, and all the men that were involved in doing that. But again, those men were paid enough to support their families. The shit that's going on now, just get a job, that doesn't pay shit. Can't get a car. Average car is $35,000. Can't purchase a house. The average home is $430,000. But fuck, I'll cut that in half and make it $215,000. And I'm sure somebody else could bust out a calculator with current interest rates and tell me how much you need to pay a month in order to fucking pay for, a home that costs $215,000. Then we got to add in groceries. Then we got to add in freaking other, like the miscellaneous stuff. Quality of life. Having internet, flat screen television, furniture that having the house being furnished. Refrigerator, washer machine, dryer, freaking, the cleaning materials for the kitchen. The list just goes on and on. Not saying that you're buying all of that at once, but essentially, when moving in, you are buying all of that at once. Bottom line, like, if you ain't talking about money, if we ain't talking about, okay, we got money in a man's hand, now you can talk about what are you doing with that, and you need to move in this direction. One of the things that I told Captain Solo, the important things about industry and the problem with not having industry is when you had people in, like, example, when Cap was in Detroit, when you had folks graduate high school, the young men that would graduate high school, they had a decision to make. Go to college, you could work in the plant. Many of their fathers worked in the plant. But I'm saying you would have whole classes or whole generations of people, around the same age, who could go into the plant, get their life started, and in a couple of years, they're putting their ducks in a row. Then they find the girl that the girl of their dreams, they get married, look for a house to buy a house, pop out a kid, and go from there. Right. But you would have, when you're talking about a community, it's easy to create a community when you got a whole bunch of men the same age. Like when you look at Levittown, Pennsylvania, when you go and you look at that documentary on YouTube called The Myers, okay, everybody in that neighborhood is pretty much the same age. They're all young couples. Does that not surprise anybody? Okay, you don't see that today. You see all different types. You see people moving into neighborhoods, old people there, young people there, everything. You don't see new developments being specifically made for returning, veterans, but it doesn't have to be returning veterans for this situation. But housing for young people. They always kill me when they go out and they build these single level rancher 1-car garage homes, and you look at how much they are. The 55 and up senior communities. Oh yeah, these houses are, they'll be like $250. But yet, if somebody wants to get in that, a young couple wants to get in that house the same size, suddenly bam, jumps up to $400. Same size. And the crazy thing is especially with the white, I don't know how the white oligarchs can fuck it up this goddamn bad. To the point where they're like, it's just funny. Elon Musk up there, the population, we're going to have a population collapse. So saith the man that doesn't want to pay his employees unionized wages. You know what I mean? You got all these white oligarchs up there, talking about, oh my God, our population, the white population is dwindling and whatnot. But I wonder why. You've created a system, and even a media machine, a propaganda machine that says that people should only have babies if they can afford it, right? That's what you wag your finger against the black people. So white people, they took that to vein, right? So they say to themselves, well, if I'm not making enough money, I don't need to be in a relationship. I don't need to start a family. I don't need it. And then the white oligarchs are like, we weren't talking about you. It's just stupid. It's so fucking retarded what they've done to this country. You know, and it's so self-inflicted, just so that a small minority can get just stupidly wealthy. You know, and the whole shit is just going to collapse. You know, and they're going to have people sitting outside their house with, fucking tar and feather and pitchforks and shit like that. They think they're going to be able to pay half the poor to kill the other half. They might. They might. If folks don't wise up, I don't know. But I mean, we have the internet now. They're trying to obviously control that and control the message. But I think there's enough intelligent people out here, a growing number of intelligent people who will begin to see things, for what it is. Again, I direct you to Tim Gurner's, statement about we need more pain in the economy. We need more pain. We have to show these employees, who the boss is, who they work for. So again, as Black Americans, unfortunately, we're just along, for the ride. I wish it was different, but I'm not going to sit here and champion people putting a band-aid on a hemorrhaging wound and pretend and act like that, is the solution. I'm not doing that. Anyway, that's all I got for y'all. I know this is a long video. That's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.